Grizzlies fans know it's the team that gives you the edge. Big River Steel does too. And much like the Grizzlies have recruited legendary talent, we want you to be part of our team. Are you ready to be part of something legendary? Then visit www.bigriversteel.com. That's www.bigriversteel.com.
36.5 vertical?
Watch your head.
Yeah, you said it was 44.
You sure I said that?
36 and a half?
36.5 is big.
36 and a half. I've got bench press here.
18 times.
17.
Okay.
You always have to put a little barbecue
It's
sauce.
called barbecue sauce. Barbecue sauce on the wings.
The Chris Vernon Show, presented by Caesars Sportsbook, live weekdays at noon on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
There's no substitute for experience, the knowledge gained from having been there before, and the passion to share what you know to make everyone around you better. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy.
Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
We have another edition. This will be the third edition of the Debate Club. You guys are going to sell a shoe to Mr. Bennett Doyle, our producer over here.
Oh, yeah.
I saw these.
I've seen these.
I saw these on social media too.
It's the perfect house shoe.
I know, right?
Like, yeah, it's not even a house shoe. I bet you they're really comfortable. You know, you heard of unisex. This is unifoot. Oh my God.
The Sneak Fest Show, live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
It's time for Grizzbait, a full court press of highlights, insights, news, and scoops covering the Grizzlies and the NBA. Catch up each week on the latest Grizz buzz with regional and national insiders locked in on our squad. Running point from Grind City Media Studios, our host, Jarvis Greer.
We're trying to get the rust off and get everybody ready to go. 191 Beale Street is where this program is coming to you. It's known as Grizzbeat, and have we got an illustrious panel, as always, for you. We have the illustrious Michael Cole from the Commercial Appeal. He is the beat writer for the Memphis Grizzlies, and you got a whole lot of stuff that you've been getting ready to unpack on us today, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's the off season, but, we're not off. So.
No.
Not off.
Well, some of us may be a little off, but that's another story. One who is definitely dialed in to what's happening with the Grizzlies, of course, is the guru of Grind City Media himself, the one and only, the great Michael Wallace, as my grandson calls him. And Michael Wallace, you are hopped and ready to go because, man, finals are getting ready to start.
Finals getting ready to start, man. The Grizzlies are we're in June now. The draft is right around the corner, 3 weeks away. There's a lot going on, man. I wish I was a lot more. I wish I was as plugged in as you gave me credit for. But I'm in the guessing mode just like everybody else, man.
Well,
you
were the one up in Chicago at the where the ping pong balls were dropping, and you were there with the combine going on. So you've had a good inside look with some of the players. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, let's get to exactly where the Grizzlies are. Let's throw that graphic up. The Grizzlies, of course, have the number 9 pick in the NBA draft. It's the first time they have picked in the 9 spot. And you see it on your screen. The draft, round 1, coming up at 8 o'clock on Wednesday, June 26th, just a few days from now. And then round 2, they're going to split it up this year for the first time ever, coming up on Thursday. And that will be on ESPN. And it's just, everybody. I can't say everybody's on pins and needles for this draft simply because the Grizzlies team core is basically set. This is a work around the fridges, but of course with the number 9 overall draft, and in the second half, in the second round, you got picks number 39 and 56. As we said, this is the first time in franchise history for number 9. DeMichael Cole, you have some specific thoughts on what the Grizzlies will do, and one of them involves not even keeping that pick.
Yeah, see, the thing about this draft is there's not a lot of separation in the top 10. You'll see certain mock drafts, you click on them, there's certain guys that'll be top 3, top 4 picks, and I've seen other mock drafts like Robert Dillingham, for example.
Right.
I've seen him go top 3 in some mocks. I've seen him as low as 15 on a mock draft. Guy like Donovan Clingan, we talked about him a lot in the Memphis region and whatnot. I've seen him 2 on a mock draft. I've seen him 9 on a mock draft. Like that, there's not a lot of separation. So when there's not a lot of separation, that is perfect trade down conversation for me, because now you're saying I can get similar value while gaining more assets or potentially offloading on some unwanted assets that you already have on the team. So there are a lot of ways you can play this. We've talked about trading up. The thing about trading up in this draft to me is if you trade up, you better know the one guy that you want is going to be there, because if you don't get that certain guy, it's going to be real risky.
And not just that he's going to be there, but you absolutely, truly believe that he is going to be a contributor now. This is not a team that's, we're building for the future. No, this team's built. It's ready to go, as we say, around the way. And it's like when you do that, of course, the Grizzlies took a flyer with Zaire Williams. They traded up to get him at the 10 spot. You got some feelings about that, but let's go with what do you think is going to happen as far as exactly what they're looking with this pick, the great Michael Wallace?
Just historically, you look at this time of the calendar, 3 weeks out from the draft, a lot of players are coming into your facility to work out, or you're going to meet them at wherever they're working out right now. You're doing your due diligence with their medicals. You're following up with agents and seeing, what the agents are hearing from other teams and those kind of things. And then as you get closer, maybe a week out, you pretty much zero in on who you want. So to DeMichael's point, if you love a guy in this draft, then you're willing to trade up. Otherwise, if you're going to stay at 9, you better like 3 or 4 guys.
Right.
Because if you really like 3 or 4, you're fine with whichever one is available. And if you have more strategy involved and you're like, okay, this draft, this asset is what we can use to parlay to get a veteran, then you make the trade. I think the Grizzlies are probably, and this is just me, this is not intel, this is just looking at their history, looking at the league, hearing things from other people in the league. The Grizzlies are more likely to move off of 9 than they are to stay at 9. And beyond that, it's anyone's guessing game.
Speaking of moving off of 9, DeMichael, you were talking about having assets that you might want to bundle. And I mentioned Zaire before. Do you see that as a real possibility in this draft in case you wanted to move down and you have to add something to sweeten the pot or a little bit? I think you sweeten the pot, though, to move up. How do you sweeten the pot to move down?
You sweeten the pot to move down by creating more roster flexibility. Right now, the Grizzlies only have 2 open roster spots known, and one of them is probably going to go to this first-round pick. So you're going to have 1 more roster spot. I'm sure you probably want to get another big. Some people say you might want to add a little bit more point guard depth, with Derrick Rose and Scottie Pippen Jr. on a 2-way deal and whatnot. Maybe he gets promoted on a guaranteed contract. So you need probably, I think, 1 more roster spot to have in play within free agency. Trading a player makes the most sense, but who is going to take some players at the bottom of your roster?
Right.
So you got to, as you said, sweeten the pot a little bit. That's when I look at the guys. You said they pretty much have a set rotation. There are certain guys that are out of that rotation that are going to be making some good money this year, and you can say, hey, let's trade down to 16 or 17 and throw in, let's say, a Zaire Williams, for example, coming on to the last year of his deal or whatnot. Maybe it's an even better player. I think we'll talk about it probably a little bit later in the show, but like Santi has he's kind of like caught in between right now. It feels like he doesn't have a certain role with the emergence of Gigi Jackson. So maybe you say, hey, we go down to 16. You can go up to 9. We're going to throw one of these players who's probably not going to be in the rotation anymore, create another open roster spot. Whereas if you want to bring back a Lamar Stevens, if you want to go get another big, like maybe you get a big in the draft and acquire a big in free agency to double down on it to make sure you sit there, I think they can kind of explore those options by moving around on the draft board.
You said explore. My head's exploding while you're going through all the A, B, C, D. And I got to take my shoes and socks off to count all the things. But what DeMichael says makes a lot of sense. But do you trade out of the lottery? You said down 16, 19. That's getting way down there to make a trade. What do you think?
It is, but just like there's Sarr is probably going to go number 1. I think we can all agree. Alexander Sarr, the 7'1", phenomenal. I mean, he has everything he needs to go number 1. Atlanta likes him at number 1. But 2 through 7, 8, is pretty much anybody's guessing
The
game.
same player.
And then 8 through 15 is another set of anything can happen from there. So that's the reason why, if you really like I said, you love someone, you go get them. If you really like people, you got to have at least 3 or 4 people that you really like. If this is the draft that you're going to go all in for. But at the end of the day, man, all of these guys and all of this is an exciting time, because there's not going to be a player that the Grizzlies will take in this draft this year that's going to put them in the Western Conference Finals next year. That's just not going to happen. That will have to be in concert with whoever they add in free agency and through trades. But there are a number of intriguing prospects. And you mentioned it, Jarvis. I was in Chicago a couple of weeks ago at the NBA Draft Combine. And over the next couple of weeks, over Grizz Beat leading into the draft, where you're going to be able to hear from some of the players that we talked to up there. And this one right here is Donovan Clingan. This is the guy we're going to start with this week. You look at Donovan Clingan, the size, 7'2", 282. Stats, 13
Looks good,
points.
doesn't it?
7.5 boards, 2.5 blocks, and almost 2 assists a game last season for the 2-time champion UConn Huskies. And again, this is a guy that's been mentioned as being a target for the Grizzlies, but he's a target for many other teams. And Clingan talked about what he brings to the NBA and what he hopes this draft process is going to be like the next couple of weeks.
My feel for the game, how I could be impactful on defense. Really just working on my 3-ball and being able to step out and shoot the 3. Trying to, in the ball screen game, really just being as impactful. Really just trying to be as active as I can in defensive end.
Donovan, how do you sort of process, a lot of people say they look at mock drafts or not look at mock drafts, but guys that are capable of going 2, 3, 4 can easily go 9, 10, 8, 9, 10. When you look at that variance, how do you sort of look at that and sort of measure yourself in terms of where you could go in this lottery?
Yeah, I try not to look at mock drafts. I try not to listen to them. At the end of the day, June 26th is, the day that, the real mock draft, happens, and, so I'm just trying to put all the work in I can to, put myself in the best position possible to, end up at the right organization and, just try to be the highest pick possible. But I also want to go to a place where I'm going to fit in and, I'm going to be able to, have an impact. I just want to try to, help an organization win.
Do you sort of limit your scope of teams that you're willing to work out for, or because it's so much of a variance, you're willing to work out just about anybody?
I don't really know yet. Really just trying to get through the week of the combine, get through these interviews, and just try to get a feel for some teams, some organizations, and have them get a feel for me, and try to give them my best, my best impression, and try to get some workouts in there.
And what I want to know, Michael Wallace, were you in your Grizz gear from head to toe, giving him the vibe that Memphis is calling you?
No. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do
you
that.
Could. I could.
Stretch.
I would.
Yeah, you would. No. I was rocking Grind City Media gear, representing Grind City Media. There's a separation of church and state.
Subtle hint to Michael. That's a subtle hint.
When it comes to that kind of stuff, man. But again, you heard from Donovan Clingan. You heard from how he feels that he can impact the team. And what he means. And it's not just for the Grizzlies, but it's for any team that wants to pick him. He's having to, he's going to have to audition. He wants to be a top 5 pick. He doesn't just want to just fall to the bottom half of the lottery. So, we'll see what that means in terms of where he goes from there.
In secret, I know the Grizzlies have already worked out a bunch of players. And I know you sometimes get a chance to go over there and see. Have there been some big men that they've worked out that they like maybe at that spot?
You know what? I wish I could. I just got back from vacation.
Okay.
Right. So
the well-tanned, the great and well-tanned Michael Wallace.
I had this tan before I left. but the thing about the schedule for the Grizzlies is that once the combine was done, yes, they had guys coming in to work out, right? But I wasn't privy to that. And, they're really, really tight-knit when it comes to that. There were years in the past where they invited media to come and interview draft prospects. Some teams still do. Yeah. This is not one of those teams. They want to keep this as close to the best as possible. I respect that.
And they are.
I'll figure it out analyze it once we all do.
Before we move on to the next topic, I want to ask just about that number 9 pick in case they keep it. What do you think? There's some people saying Dalton Knecht out of Tennessee might be somebody that would be in that spot available for the Grizzlies. And with whatever happens with the shooter that they got last year, who's going to make $14.5 million, would they think about a player like that at that spot to Michael Cole?
I'm not opposed to it. And we talk a lot about the need for the big, right? I mean, that's something even Zach Kleiman addressed the last time we talked to him at the end of the season. But I'll make the argument with anyone that as big of a need as, the center spot is, shooting is just as important for this team. The Grizzlies haven't been top 10 three-point shooting team in the NBA since 2006, 2007. The highest they finished in the Taylor Jenkins era is 17th. Every other year, 20 and below. They've not been above league average three-point shooting team. Yeah, they got Desmond Bain, they got Luke Kennard. But other than those two, one game Jaren may make 5 threes. Gigi can make 5 threes one game, but there's no consistency there enough. So you add a Dalton Knecht, that gives you that I don't like the idea of adding him as a Luke Kennard replacement sort of type of thing, at least not right now. I mean, if the plan is for them to play this year together and then after Luke's contract end, he kind of steps into that role, that makes a lot of sense to me. But I think that you need more shooting. We see it in the playoffs right now when teams are blitzing Luka and whatnot. Derrick Jones is having to knock him down. We saw it with the Timberwolves. Jaden McDaniels was having to knock him down. And if you don't have those type of guys, you're not going to last long in the playoffs.
They almost had one with Nas. That three had gone in there. It just bounced out. Let's go on now and talk a little bit about what the Grizzlies need in our question of the week. And the question of the week is, what are the Grizzlies' biggest needs at the power forward spot this offseason? We can show you who the power forwards are. Jaren Jackson Jr., of course, all-star, former defensive player of the year. BC Brandon Clark showed that he's coming off that the Achilles injury and looking pretty good. Santi came on strong at the end of the year, but still could be a question mark. And, of course, my man Lamar Stevens, he of the beard, no mustache type that, man, those are the dudes you don't want to mess with, in the dark alley. He's a street fight kind of dude. Let's talk about Jaren first. Jaren showed last year he could be durable. He played when he really didn't have to play as far as, this season was over long before even the All-Star break. And he showed that, he can score in the paint now. His usage, his numbers in the paint had not been that great. I think he was a better three-point shooter than he was 5 feet from the bucket. But he shows he can do it all, and he's the man. He has solidified his role with this team. Yeah, I mean, Jaren took a big leap, I think, the season before this one, and then this season he took it to another level. I think last year was the year where he rated out as one of the best isolation scorers in the NBA, and you didn't know at the time, like, is this sustainable? Was this just, a flash in the pan? And he came back this season, seeing more doubles, all these things, and there were some adjustments. He still has to improve as a playmaker in certain areas. We saw teams blitzing him, doubling him, and he didn't see it sometimes. But at the end of the day, I'm real impressed with, like, just the physicality standpoint of his game. Like, you're starting to see he knows that I'm bigger than these dudes. If I'm not bigger than them, I'm quicker than them. He's getting to the free throw line a lot. Like, the dominance part of his game is starting to really be established. At first, it felt like he was more finesse than power. I don't think it's a question anymore.
Yeah, he's definitely grown into his body. He's a grown man now, both in age and in physicality, right? But one thing I need to see, though, is that if Jaren can if he can do what Anthony Davis did, because, again, Anthony Davis resisted going to center for a long time. He wanted to be a power forward. That's what he felt like he was. That was in his mindset. But now you look at him with the Lakers, he has to play center. So what Jaren has to do, if he's going to do that, and if the Grizzlies are going to want him to do that, he's got to get double-figure rebounds. And you can't tell me a guy that physically strong, that athletic, that gifted, that intelligent couldn't go out and grab 12 rebounds a game if he wanted to. And I think that he has to be helped. The scheme has to be set up to put him in position to do those things. But if that is what Zach Kleiman alluded to, I think we're at our best when Jaren is at the 5.
Yep.
So if that is what you're going to say, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Jar.
All right.
If you're going to do that, if you're going to do that, then I think you have to put Jaren in position where rebounding has to be a priority, a bigger priority. And then maybe you can put somebody beside him to help with the physicality and take on the bigger bodies. But I don't mind Jaren becoming the Anthony Davis of this team, but he has to have another power player alongside him to take up some of that slack.
Okay, so when you put it like that, I'm in total agreement with you. I was going to say, au contraire, mon frère, as far as making him the center for all time. Because, this cat's been here how long now? He's been
6 years.
He's been here 6 years. Has he ever averaged more than 4 rebounds a game for a season?
Yeah, I mean,
4.5,
I know what you're
defensive.
saying. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, but I get what you're saying. He hasn't been a plus rebounder for his position.
I think that what he does best, he can float around the perimeter. Now he's learned how to put the ball on the floor and drive, which means, there may be more offensive rebounds for him or someone else. But his best him is when he is the roamer, when he's the guy going around. And when you have that big body next to him, like you mentioned, that's when, these pieces come together, and this is a team now. It's a squad now. But if you try to rely on him getting 10, 12 rebounds a game, that just ain't, in my opinion, that just ain't him. You got a Steven Adams, you got a who do we have before Steven Adams?
Jonas
JV. You had JV down there. And then Mark.
He's played with all three of them.
He's played with all three of those guys, and him, when he's roaming, he's at it, and you see it helps him defensively when he's the roamer. Because that's when he was Defensive Player of the Year. He was a roamer. He's coming up on the secondary, on the backside, getting that block and doing those kind of things. So that's just my opinion. That's one man's opinion. And it's like everything that you guys said makes a lot of sense. And that's why King Kleiman has the crown. He's the one that's got to make that decision. Zach Kleiman.
But one last thing on that. One last thing on that. All of those same things that you just said about Jaren Jackson Jr., the same thing was said about Anthony Davis. He was a three. Remember, he shot a lot of threes in New Orleans.
He roamed too.
He roamed a lot, right? And he didn't always have, and even in LA now, he's catching the ball on the perimeter and facing you up and driving.
Right.
He's also doing all of those from the center position and grabbing 12 rebounds a game.
Well,
they're not too different physically in terms of how they're built now. Jaren had to grow into that.
He had to grow into
But they're
his
not
body.
too much different now. They're different players, but they have the same kind of skill set too.
I think at Michigan State, Jaren was still a roamer, and Anthony Davis was more a center type at Kentucky with Calipari. So I don't know. It's one that could be a learned thing. And how long does that learning curve take? To work out, we'll have to see. But let's go on now to the other two guys on it. Brandon Clark, BC, all-time favorite. BC is he worked his butt off. After that ACL, that was ACL. I keep saying ACL. Achilles. The same letters are in there. But after that Achilles tear, he really worked hard. I had an ACL, so that's on my mind. Did you have one? Did you, DC? You ever had an ACL?
No.
It ain't fun, I'll tell you that. Now, I know Achilles didn't because that's a longer injury, but you can see in his highlights, he's a high flyer. His bounce is incredible. What do they call it? Bounce BC. His floater is impeccable. He's way over 60% from those little dotted line floaters. That he's in, 65, 68% on those things. And he's a shot blocker, and he may not be your starter at a power forward, but he's a guy that can finish games for you at that slot, and he has done so, as you said, Michael, as far as having Jaren at the center spot and him at the power forward. They have finished games that way in the playoffs and been very successful. So that spot's sewn up to Michael Cole.
Yeah, when I look at Brandon Clark, it's very simple. Like, you talk about a guy who knows his role. He knows his strengths.
Yeah.
He's rarely ever doing anything.
And he's even said, I like coming off the bench with this team.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he knows exactly what his role is on this team. But we talk about a level of improvement for him. To me, it's got to be the three-point shot. The floater is what you said. It's one of the best in the NBA, like statistically proven. I think a couple seasons ago, it was in the top 3 floater percentage and usage. It was Jokic, Jakob Poeltl, and Brandon Clark. That was who he was up there with. So that just goes to show when he gets in the paint, I love him as a roller. The pressure he puts on the defenses. That's why he works really well. With Ja in those situations.
Man.
But
he's rim
the
running.
3-point shot is. And that's where I am with the team as a whole at this point because, you mentioned like the Jaren and BC closing lineups. They've been really good, like overall. But when you get to the playoffs, and if Jaren or BC, one of them's going to have to make some 3-point shots. One of them's going to have to be the one who spaces the floor. If BC's rolling to the rim, it's going to be Jaren. When Jaren's, posting up, as we just talked about, facing up, getting to the basket, it's going to have to be BC. And when that's the case, he's going to have to knock down some shots. He shot a lot of three-pointers during his rehab. We saw little glimpses of it towards the end of the regular season.
Especially out of the corner.
The corner three-pointer. I think that's all he needs. He doesn't have to shoot it from the wing or the top of the key. Just knock down a couple corner three-pointers, and I think that expands his game.
At least make yourself a threat where, he can hit that, so you got to go out and guard him, which opens the floor for everybody else.
No, one of the things that you guys might remember, and I think, DeMichael, this was maybe the season before you came on the beat.
Yeah.
He was asked to go out in space and be a three-point shooter, and I think that was his second season.
Yeah.
And he tried it. He was never comfortable with it, and he kind of lost momentum in the rotation.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting replaced by Xavier Tillman that year.
Yeah.
And now it's 2-3 years later. He's a lot more mature now, and he knows, okay, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to stay on the floor. So that's going to be important, as you said.
Okay, so that brings us to Santi Aldama, who is, I think that he has really grown as a player in his time here. There are some question marks up and down, but I'm not questioning his three-point shot. That dude can shoot at 7 feet from out there. He's got, in my mind, got to get a little bit tougher in the paint, especially. Don't shy away from. He's a good free throw shooter. Don't shy away from contact. Go on in there and rough it up a little bit, mix it up some. But he's definitely a rotation player on this team.
I mean, I want to say that, but I want to say I think he has rotation talent.
Backup trade.
But if you
Al Green, what we
know
about?
we know what the starting lineup potentially could look like. So if you take Marcus Smart, let's say hypothetically Marcus Smart is in the starting lineup. So you got Vince Williams, Gigi Jackson, Luke Kennard. That's 3 guys right there, and Brandon Clark. That's 4. That's a 9-man rotation.
All right.
Now that doesn't even include a possible backup point guard, Derrick Rose, Scottie Pippen Jr. That's 10. Who do you put Santi over in that situation? I don't know if I'm putting him over Vince Williams, Gigi Jackson, definitely not Luke Kennard. You probably need a backup point guard.
You're not putting him over. Now, I like Luke Kennard. I'm going to say this right now. I like Luke Kennard. I like the idea of Luke Kennard. Why they did it, I get it. Everybody gets it. But Santi can go in and block. He can block shots. He has rebounded. He has, his reverse dunk. He's he can play now. Not like he's not a player. You just want him to be, get a little bit of that Chelsea and Breed love in him.
It's all about the strength for him.
That's all it is. Mill branch in him. You know what I mean?
That's all it is. That's all it is. He knows that.
I'm being real now.
He knows it. He knows it. Before the season, if y'all remember, he was talking about eating up to 6 times a day.
And that's a little bit different than a giant water bottle.
But we didn't see enough of that. I think a lot of times, like there was a stretch he was playing the 3 in the season, and he looked decent to me there. But you want to see him like growing more into a 4 or 5. And a lot of things, I think, sometimes coaches don't talk bad on their players, but a lot of times in rotations they show us what they're thinking. And towards the end of the season, when Jaren Jackson Jr. was playing the 5 so much, Santi would only come in and play the 4. He was not playing center when Jaren was coming out. They would use, Trey Jemison, or they would use Lamar Stevens. When Lamar Stevens started playing center over Santi Aldama, that I knew what that meant. You didn't have to ask Taylor Jenkins what that meant to figure out what that meant. So it's just strength to me. The skill is, the shooting, the playmaking. I like the little flashy passes.
Oh yeah, he can
every
definitely
now and
throw
then. I think even strength will translate on the defensive end for him as well. That's all it is. He has to get bigger, stronger.
Weight room.
And just hit that weight room.
I think, and we can wrap up on this too, and I want to give you the last word, Jarvis, on Lamar.
That's
because
my
your
man.
guy.
Yeah.
Got a street named after right here, a street right here in Memphis.
Yeah, about Santi, is that I love everything about his mindset. I love everything about his size and what his skill set is. I just haven't, and this also applies to Zaire.
Yeah.
They both have not, neither of those guys have shown enough when you're healthy, when your roster's healthy, to say, all right, they're a definitive piece that we need to keep. And this is what their role is going to be. They've gotten a lot of opportunities when a whole bunch of people have been sidelined.
Yep.
But what have we seen from these guys over 2-3 years now when you do have your full complement of players on there? So I still think I would have wanted to see more from Zaire for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And I definitely wanted to see more from Santi, especially this year, coming off of the FIBA. And he's about to go to the Olympic trials again for Spain. So this is going to be a transitional year for Santi one way or another, whether he has a future here in Memphis or for the rest of his professional career. This is going to be a key summer and off season going into his season coming up.
Yeah, I just think it's weight room for Santi.
Yeah.
Basically, you know, if that works out. And plus, you know, he missed the first 2 weeks of the season with that ankle.
Yeah.
That's when everything went to hell in a handbasket. Stephen Adams, I can't play for the rest of the year. And then Santi goes down and everybody else drops. But my man Lamar Stevens. Dude, it epitomizes grit and grind. I think he was part of that whole, what you were talking about, Santi, earlier. They asked him, they must have asked him to go out and shoot more threes because there was a period there where he's not a three-point shooter. No. Dude is in the paint. Dude is balling against.
He's from Philly.
Yeah.
You can tell.
He's playing with them chain nets of those goals. And they don't have a net. You know, you just got to, hey, that went through. Oh, prove it. But, and to me, down at the end of the bench, but man, if you got to have somebody, he's somebody that if you're looking at the end of your roster, he's not a guy that's going to be your starter. He may not, you know how they used X. X had went weeks and didn't play. And then when he played, they called my number, I'm out there, I'm ready to go. To me, he's one of those
I can see that
kind of play. We agree with
Absolutely.
that? Hey, that's right, we agree. Cool. All righty, so that's going to take us to the end of this first segment here on Grizz Beat. When we come back, we're going to hear from some tremendous people in the news in the NBA. That's going to be all right here on Grizz Beat after the break.
There's no substitute for experience, the knowledge gained from having been there before, and the passion to share what you know to make everyone around you better. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy.
Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
I think we have the college basketball title futures. UConn's #1.
I really like Houston. I'd have them winning it all, but you can't be giving Drake jerseys. What is wrong with you?
Maybe the Drake curse is stronger in college basketball.
How long has he been riding with Kentucky?
He wore an Alabama jersey and Saban retired.
The Odds Couple with Rob Fisher, Lang Whitaker, John Roser, and CJ Hurt live Thursdays at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app. Hey Grizzlies fans, turn your stadium excitement into betting action at Southland Casino Hotel. As a proud sponsor of the Memphis Grizzlies, Southland brings you more gaming action than ever before. Step onto our massive casino floor stretching more than 2.5 football fields. Slot enthusiasts can enjoy more than 2,300 machines from penny slots to high limits and play the hottest games like Aristocrat, Dollar Storm, Cloverlink, and Lightning Cash. Table game aficionados can feel the thrill of the felt with 50 live table games. From 3-card to blackjack match, we're ready to deal you in. Plus, don't miss stadium gaming for an interactive digital experience. And for high rollers, our high limit room is calling your name. Go big on 6 high limit blackjack tables or spin one of our 54 high stakes slot machines. Throw in 8 delicious dining options and a 300-room high-rise hotel, and there's plenty to keep you going. At Southland Casino Hotel, the gaming excitement never stops.
Must be 21 plus. Play responsibly. For help quitting, call 800-522-4700.
Fans, purchase a 2024-25 half-season plan before Wednesday. That's a season ticket plan, June 26th, and you'll score a free Memphis Grizzlies 2024 NBA Draft hat. It's a first-come, first-serve for the best available seats, so act fast for big-time savings off single-game pricing. Now, this is the most affordable way to get the season's biggest games, most desirable giveaways, and best seats. So don't wait and purchase your Grizzlies half-season plan today. Just go to grizzlies.com/half-season.
And welcome back to Grizz Beat. We have a fun, informative, great show going on right now. Jarvis Greer's here joining us. and DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal. It's NBA Finals time, guys. And a little bit later on in the show, we're going to take you to Boston, where you're going to hear directly from the Boston Globe columnist Gary Washburn on everything that's going on up in Boston as we get ready and get set to tip off the finals tomorrow, Thursday, with Game 1 in Boston. So when you look at the NBA Finals, guys, as we see the schedule right there, it tips off Thursday with Game 1. First 2 games are in Boston. Then you go 2 games in Dallas, and then 1-1-1 the rest of the way. And Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, you have a lot of space between these games now, right? And I think, to me, that helps a team like Dallas, particularly Luka, when he's dealing with the soreness in the knee and other things that he's dealing with. But first and foremost, Jarvis, let's start with you. When you look at these finals, what is the number one storyline that you think is going to factor in who you believe is going to win the finals?
I think part of it, just off my first thought when I saw the matchup set, I said, wow, Porzingis going to play his old team, basically. Didn't they take Porzingis? Yeah. He's playing his old team, and he's coming off injury as well, so he's pretty well rested now, ready to go. And, just how much will he show up against a Mavericks team that spent a lot of money on him, spent a lot of time with him, and for some reason they decided we're going to let you go. And now he's going to come back. Is he going to have I'm going to show you guys, you shouldn't have let me go? Or is it he's just out there playing? I don't know. A lot of times when guys get let go by a team, for whatever reason, they target that team. Kristaps, the Celtics hadn't really needed him in the playoffs. He got hurt, really early there, and they breezed on through. So I don't know, if his coming back will maybe throw off their rhythm a little bit, or is he going to be, I want to beat the Mavericks. I want to beat the Mavericks. That was my first impression.
Yeah. And to your point, though, yes, not only did Kristaps play for the Mavs, Kyrie played for the Celtics.
Oh, that's right.
So that motivation
right.
goes both ways.
Both
I think
ways.
people overlook the fact that Kristaps spent those seasons in Dallas playing alongside Luka, right? And now you got
and
Kyrie.
that was supposed to be the it.
That was
they
it.
said.
Yeah. And then Kyrie spent 2 seasons in Boston playing alongside Tatum and Brown. So the storylines are endless. DeMichael, what do you see as the biggest factor going into the Boston-Dallas finals?
Man, y'all know I'm a matchups guy.
Yeah.
All the way. That's what I like basketball so much.
Styles make fights, as they say.
Come on now. So, who's going to guard Luka? It's that simple. As soon as the game starts, I want to see who starts on him, who's on him in the third quarter, who's on him in the final minutes of the fourth quarter, and just defensively what Boston does. Because before the season started, everyone was looking at Boston like, man, this is one of the rare teams that has 5 potential all defensive caliber defenders. But there's no such thing as a perfect Luka Doncic defender because he can manipulate matchups and things like that. Derek White, terrific defensive guard, too small. Drew Holiday, strong defensive guard, still not strong enough to guard Luka. Jaylen Brown has the strength.
Well, not tall enough, I would say. I think he's strong.
Yeah.
Just that
but he did well against KD. But KD is a little bit more finesse. We seen Drew Holiday kind of hold his own. But Luka will put you on his back, and you can't get around him. And, Porzingis, Horford, those guys don't really stand that much of a chance. Tatum and Brown are, to me, the most intriguing matchups. But then you're going to take away from them on the offensive end. We saw Anthony Edwards in that last series. A lot of those fourth quarters, hands on his hips, huffing and puffing because he's trying to take the Kyrie and Luka matchups. So that's all it comes down to me. Honestly, I think Kyrie will be Kyrie Irving, but Boston is super talented defensively. They'll make him work really hard. They'll make Luka work hard, but sometimes that's not enough with Luka. That's the series to me. If Luka is not amazing, Boston wins. If Luka's amazing, Dallas wins.
Great point. And I agree with that point as well, too. I want to say that you made the counterpoint just as well as you made your initial point.
Yeah.
Boston has 4 different guys that they can throw at them and mix it up, which means nobody should get in foul trouble.
Yeah.
Whoever gets the first 2 fouls, switch
it.
Tatum got him.
Yep.
Now, that's the thing. You don't want to defend Luka with the same guy.
Right. Give
3
him
or 4
different
or 5
looks.
different straight possessions.
I thought that was the mistake Minnesota made.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Now, the flip side, and I'm going to give you the counter to that.
Here we go.
Who is Luka going to guard? Because against Minnesota, you can hide him on McDaniel.
Yep.
You can hide him on somebody who's not going to be willing to take the ball, put it on the floor, and go to the hole.
Yeah.
Boston has 5 guys that can take over a game at any point and score facing up, score with their back to the basket, score on 3-pointers. So Luka, if he gets in foul trouble early, where does Dallas go? So I think that's going to be the key there. One of the other matchups, as we shift there, One of the other matchups is the coaching history that's involved in this. Joe Mazzulla, at 35 years old, is the youngest coach to guide his team to the NBA Finals since, by the way, Bill Russell did it as a player coach. When he was 35 years old, back in the days when the Celtics were building that dynasty where Bill Russell won 11 championships, back when Jarvis was a little boy. Back in those days, right?
I had not grown my mustache yet.
You didn't grow your mustache
Not yet.
When you talk about the history in this, Dallas has some history on their side, too. Jason Kidd he's the 9th coach trying to lead his former team that he played for to an NBA championship. So when you look at the history of this, does Boston Dallas bring up any historical memories at all?
Well, there's no all the history is with Boston.
Yes.
Even though Dallas won a championship with Dirk back a few years ago, Dirk was in the house for a couple of those games in Dallas. Dallas does not really, in my opinion, what they've been to? They've been to 2 finals here.
They've been to 2 championships.
But it's still Boston has, they got
16,
all those flags
17,
hanging up there. And it's like, you don't really think of Dallas as having any kind of legacy in the finals. Even though in all of their players have been trying to get there, they don't have a title yet. And Boston has been in a bunch of Eastern Conference finals. They've been in the finals several times. All the history is on their side. I don't see anything other than the matchups, as you mentioned to Michael, as being the standout thing in this. What do you think?
It's a legacy moment. And when I think of that, this isn't kind of a direct comparison, but it reminded, you'll remember, the OKC Miami NBA Finals matchup. And what stood out to me about that one is a lot of people don't remember OKC was favored going into that series.
They were the home team.
They were the home team. OKC was favored. So that's why I say, like, when you go back to that, KD was, 2-3-time reigning scoring champion, even though he was super young. James Harden, 6th man of the year. Russell Westbrook was this dynamic, young, 22, 23-year-old guard like Serge Ibaka. They were this young core that was kind of like trying to solidify themselves. LeBron James still at the same time. A year ago, he had more criticism, I think, at the time than any player I had ever seen in one offseason. So it was a legacy moment for LeBron as well. And when I say that, I'm thinking of Jason Tatum and Luka.
Yes.
Luka,
I was just going to say, that's
Luka
right.
is coming to this league, 5 seasons now, and 4 first-team All-NBAs? Like, Luka is rare. Jason Tatum has kind of been crowned because of the Boston aspect that you just mentioned. He's the young player coming here. He's only been out in the first round 1 time. But Jason Tatum could go 0-2 in the finals if he loses this. Luka, you got Kyrie Irving with you now. You got this nice team, and you're playing a Boston team that's probably going to be favorites, but Luka could lose his first NBA. I think from that standpoint, it reminds me of the LeBron-KD dynamic, where KD was trying to solidify himself as a champion in OKC, which never happened. And LeBron, who had lost a couple finals up to that point, needed a win. I think Tatum needs a win.
I agree.
But Luka needs to solidify his legacy.
I like to jump on that when you mentioned legacy thing. I don't know if it's in Boston. The Celtic fans are as mean as Detroit fans. They think that Jason Tatum, he takes a powder every now and then. He's just not there when they need him to be there and be Jason Tatum in the big moment. Is that fair? I really don't know. When you hear it all the time, you start to think it. And I think he's a player. Sometimes, there's been a couple times he's gotten tired. He's taken threes when I think he should have driven. But, that's tough when you're on the court and you got to make those on-court decisions. Luka, Luka can hit those fadeaway one-step shots from 35 feet. And if he's doing that, I mean,
Curtis.
It's nothing you can do about that. You can't guard it.
And I think, fellas, that's what's making or going to make this finals so intriguing, right? None of us would have predicted that this would have been the matchup because you're talking about a 6 seed making it all the way through the gauntlet of the Western Conference to get there. Boston, we kind of figured they would be there, right? But I think this is going to be far from a coronation from Boston. They're going to have to earn this championship as long as Luka and Kyrie can stay healthy. But enough from us. We're going to take you to Boston when we come back from this break, and you'll hear from some of the guys that are on the scene getting prepared for Boston versus Dallas, Game 1 on Thursday when we come back to Grizz Beat.
The Grizz girls are no ordinary dance team. They're known across the NBA for setting the standard for world-class dance and entertainment. From hip-hop to jazz, the Grizz girls do it all. And they're looking for talented dancers with dynamic personalities to join the team. Do you have what it takes to join a premier NBA dance team and entertain Grizz Nation both on the court and in the community? Visit grizzlies.com/auditions now for more information and show us what you've got at open auditions Saturday, July 13th.
Marge Simpson?
Come on, Bennett. You'd hook up with Marge Simpson?
Yeah. You ever see the ones with her hair, when she lets her hair down?
You're attracted to Marge Simpson.
Marge is cute.
Cute?
Legacy.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you know, I respect her.
Yeah.
But she ain't Jessica Rabbit.
No, she's not Jessica Rabbit. She's not Jessica Rabbit. No.
The Gary Parrish Show, live weekdays at 10 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Now for a limited time, the new $1.99 crispy tender wraps are here at Sonic. Who could deny a crispy chicken tender with bold flavors like hickory barbecue and cheesy Baja? And we can't forget the crisp lettuce and melty cheese to make the perfect bite. Wrap yourself up with some TLC, tender, love, and chicken for only $1.99. Sonic $1.99 crispy tender wraps. Tax not included, limited time only at participating Sonic drive-ins.
GG Jackson, I don't know if you know this, CJ, youngest player in the NBA, does not turn 20 until December of this year. He was the 45th pick in last year's draft. He becomes the first teenager, I believe, to be named to an all-rookie team without having been a first-round pick. Shout out GG Jackson.
Tune in to the Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hart, live every weekday at 8 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Welcome back to Grizz Beat. We're ready. NBA Finals tips off on Thursday from Boston. Game 1. You can catch all the action on ABC. And we're going to take you up to Boston, where we have senior NBA columnist for the Boston Globe, my friend, my longtime colleague in this industry, Gary Washburn. Gary, you've been up there in Boston, man, for a long time. You've seen these guys through a couple of different runs to the finals and into potential championships. What is going to be different about this Boston Celtics team this time in the NBA Finals?
Well, Mike, I think it's the experience factor. First of all, they were in the finals 2 years ago. They were up 2-1. They were up 5 points with about 5 minutes left. And then Steph Curry happened, and the Celtics never won another game. And they lost that series 4-2, and they walked away feeling like, one, they blew a chance to win a championship, and two, they just didn't have enough strikes or experience to win that championship. And they faced a team like the Warriors that had all the experience and did not have any panic. So this year, they feel like they're more experienced. Also, the presence of Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday and a better Derek White. Derek White in that 22 finals had a really good game 1 and kind of disappeared after that. That's not his MO right now. He is one of the more quality players in the league. Drew Holiday has played his best basketball since coming to the Celtics. He had a pretty good regular season, I'd say. Offensively, he was okay at times, not so good at other times, but in the playoffs, he has really proved his worth. And then Porzingis will make his debut after having a month off, the calf injury in for game 1. So he should unlock the Celtics offense. The offense that you guys saw against the latter part of the Miami series and the latter part of the and then against Cleveland, Indiana, will not be the offense when Porzingis is on the floor because he unlocks so many things because of his versatility. So you should see a different team, but this will be quite a series, a challenge for them with obviously the combination of Luka, Kyrie, and then those two big dudes in the paint, and Lively and Gaffney.
I want to follow up with you real quick. Again, we're joined by Gary Washburn, senior NBA columnist for the Boston Globe. He's been on the Celtics beat for a long time, one of the legends of the industry up there in Boston and in the NBA, man. Great friend of mine, man. We've been through so many battles and so many times, man, so it's been great. But you talked about Porzingis, and my follow-up question was, what should we expect from Porzingis? Is it a minutes restriction? Is he really ready to go? Where is he, and how much can Boston sort of rely on what he's able to do in Game 1?
Honestly, Mike, I think we'll see in Game 1. I don't think he plays anything past 20 minutes because it's been his first game in a month, and you can't throw him into an NBA Finals game, the intensity of that, and playing 38 minutes. So I think he'll play 20, 21 minutes maybe 5 minutes a quarter, something like that, put him on a kind of an abbreviated schedule, and then see how he comes out of Game 1, and then with 2 days off, probably ramp him up for Game 2 and then Game 3. So it's kind of a wait and see. I don't think anyone knows what to expect from him. You know, he's been out a month with a calf injury. We really haven't been privy to practices to see him go 5-on-5. You see him do some shooting off each leg. We've seen him walk normally. And, you know, and when I asked him a couple of days ago if he was running pain free, he took about 10 seconds to answer the question. He then said, yeah. So we don't know how this is going to go. I think the Celtics do, but I think they've told him, and they're just not lending anything. They're not going to give any edge to Dallas in terms of saying, oh, yeah, he's ready to go. He's 100%, even though he might be.
Hey, Gary, this is Jarvis Greer. I go way back to the old ABA days when Hubie Brown was coaching the Kentucky Colonels and Artis Gilmore. I don't know if you remember that time. You're probably a baby back then. But what I want to know is, first of all, what are y'all grubbing on up there, man? You a Whataburger or what? And also, tell me a little bit about how they feel about Jason Tatum here going into this final series. Is this the make or break year for him in the finals with Boston?
Well, I don't know. You know, you might have been a Memphis Tams fan, right?
Yeah, I was a Memphis Tams, Pros, and Sounds. Yeah, I was all of them. They had three different names while they were here.
I know my ABA.
There you go.
So I think with Tatum, this is a big sequence for him. I mean, he's on the cusp. I mean, he's been first-team All-NBA 3 years in a row. And I think people have said, okay, he's a great regular season player, but what about when it counts? What about, like, in 22, he got shut down by Andrew Wiggins. The Warriors scouted him well and said, okay, Jason, go left every time. And he was not able to do it with any consistency, and he just wasn't himself in that series. He said he had a wrist injury, but I also think he just got shut down. I mean, it was the defense of Andrew Wiggins that really made a difference in that series. And Andrew Wiggins ended up being the second-best player in that series, and the Celtics, that's what beat the Celtics, not Curry. It was that Wiggins stepped up his game. So I think Tatum has a chance to atone here, has a chance. He's got to be the best dude on the floor. There's got to be times where he dominates. He's got to bring it. And I'm not talking about only scoring. I'm talking about just putting up 50 points. That he doesn't need to score that, but he needs to be an assist man. He needs to be a rebound. He needs to play defense. He needs to get some steals. He needs to be that all-around guy. Get to the free throw line. Give them some easy points. Set up his teammates. There's a lot of things on his list that he needs to do. And, you know, it sounds like a lot because it is a lot because a lot is expected of him.
What's going on, Gary? This is DeMichael. Good to see you.
Oh, what's up, man? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good. My question for you is centered around who gets the Luka Doncic assignment initially? Like, who is the player who you think 10 seconds left in the game, they ISO clear it out? You know, Boston has all these great defenders, but who do you think is going to be the guy most equipped to kind of, I guess, best neutralize Luka?
Well, I mean, you've seen him a bunch of times. It's hard to neutralize Luka. You got to give him different looks because if he gets accustomed to something, he's going to kill it. So I think you're going to have Drew Holiday. I think you're going to have Jaylen Brown. You're going to have Derek White. But I think they like the matchup of Brown against him because of the physicality, and Brown can match him not pound for pound, but with size and strength. So I think Jaylen Brown might get that assignment for most of the game because I think he's a little too big for Holiday, and definitely too big for White. Because that dude is 6'10", and he's, you know, solid 260, as we know. We've seen him. You know, Luka's a big dude. And so you're going to have to mix and match. But I think they might double him. I think that they're going to try not to double him here. I don't know if double is going to be their first option. But I do think they'll use Jaylen Brown, which is a huge responsibility for Jaylen. But I think they'll tell Jaylen, listen, we don't need you to score 30 points a game. We need you to hold Luka to under 35 and make him less efficient. If Luka's taking all the shots, the Celtics will take that because nobody else is getting involved. Kyrie's not involved. Jared Jones Jr., P.J. Washburn, they're not getting involved. You don't want Luka to be a scorer and a distributor. You don't want him going for 35 and also 17 assists and then obviously dropping in 12, 13 rebounds. You want him to be a high-volume shooter and a high-volume scorer, but shut down the rest. So it's going to be a lot of defense against him, but I think Jaylen Brown will probably get the biggest assignment.
Hey, Gary, I just got a quick question. You talked about Luka's high volume. He's also a high-volume talker. And how do you think the Celtic fans are going to react to him always chirping with the refs like he does and getting into it with some folks on the sideline?
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics fans have a lot on their plate because they also got Kyrie Irving coming back here.
Yeah.
And he's a fan. You guys know he's a fan favorite here in Boston. They love him.
Tongue in cheek.
Yeah, exactly. If you believe that, I got some beachfront property to sell you in Bartlett.
Okay.
So that's where my aunt and uncle live, so I know my Bartlett.
Okay, very good.
So for me, I think they're gonna play in it. I think Luka likes being the villain. I don't think he has any problem. I mean, we saw what he did against Minnesota. He was talking to somebody who was near Snoop. I don't think he was talking to Snoop. Well, he wasn't talking to Snoop. I mean, I think he didn't see the death roll videos and all that. Snoop is a nice guy now, but he might not be the dude to mess with. He can make a couple phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you saw him talking to the fans in Minneapolis. You saw him talking to the fans in LA and Oklahoma City. He does not mind getting into it. So I think that more motivates him. But they'll have their share of jeers and boos for Luka as well. And I think they'll enjoy when he gets into it with the officials because he's going to have these side convos with the officials, and they're going to be used to it. It's going to be veteran crews around, know him and know his style, his talkative style.
It's Gary Washburn, senior NBA columnist for the Boston Globe. Gary, we'll get you out of here on this, man. Listen, I know you're unafraid, but we're not going to ask you to put this in the paper. But how do you see this series playing out? And before you answer, I'm going to let these guys know you're not afraid of going against the grain. You still have that MVP ballot that's going to live with you in infamy, where he was the one dude that did not vote LeBron James, who would have been a unanimous MVP that year, right? So
he's a baseball writer.
So he's not afraid. He's not afraid to pick against the Celtics. He's not afraid to pick against the Celtics. But how do you see this series playing out in terms of what would your prediction be?
I don't know why you got to bring up old stuff. Right? I'm messing with you. I think the Celtics will win this in 6. I think that they had 10 days off to prepare for this team, right? So they should have some game plans we haven't seen. I think they're completely healthy besides Porzingis. I think they're ready, and I think they understand. You face an 8 seed, a 4 seed, a 6 seed, and now a 5 seed. Somebody upstairs likes the Celtics and is putting the path to the championship out for them. If they don't take advantage of this, right, where you don't even face the top 3 seed in either conference, and they box this one, oh boy, it's going to be a long off season for me. So I think the Celtics will win this in 6. I think they'll figure out a way to limit Luka, not stop him, limit, and then we'll see how Kyrie reacts when he's asked to defend at a high level. And then, a lot of those guys, it's their first finals too. It could be the jitters. The Celtics will have the edge of experience, but they just got to play really well and focus. That's what they have to do.
Well, thank you, man. I want to thank you. I know y'all got a power lunch up there.
Oh, yeah.
Not only do we have our big 3 here in Memphis, we got a big 3 that's having lunch up there in Boston right there with Gary Washburn, my man Mark Spears, the NBA Hall of Famers up there with him, and Vince Goodwill. These are guys that are all together. Look at these guys, man. That's Vince right there.
Hey, Vince.
That's Vince. I call Vince the Rich Paul of NBA media, man. He's connected to everybody, right?
Yep.
And then you spin it around, and my man Mark Spears is there. He's the MVP guy.
Mark left. Mark had to bounce.
Oh, see, the Hall of Famer. Yeah, the Hall of Famer. The Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Hall of Famer. Hey, but G, thanks, man. Y'all be healthy. Y'all be safe up there, man, and we'll check back in with you guys as we get through the finals, all right? Thanks again, brother.
Oh, no problem. Appreciate you guys.
All right.
Once again, that's due to, that's why they call him the guru of Grind City Media. The great Michael Wallace has connections all around. And once again, it always comes back to Memphis. Auntie and uncle in Bartlett, yep. Everything, all roads lead to Memphis. Memphis road leads to all places. We want to thank DeMichael Cole from the Commercial Appeal joining us here on this edition of Grizz Beat. DC, we'll be looking forward to your articles in the CA coming up about the draft coming up here.
Oh, yeah. A lot of content on the way as we get through the draft week. Probably even drop a mock draft real soon. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Might be time to get in the mock draft
in the mock game.
All right, we're going to write it all down, and we're going to call it out when we come back. And, of course, the guru of Grind City Media himself, the great Michael Wallace. Man, those were great gets, man, getting those guys up there in
No
Boston.
question, man. Those are guys, and DeMichael knows these guys. Like they're like uncles to his generation of guys, right? Those are my brothers coming up in the NBA industry, man, and I'm thankful that they were responding when we reached out to them. We have our mock draft, our Grind City Media mock draft series is on right now on Grind City Media. Kelsey Wright Johnson is interviewing Insider with each of the teams with picks 1 through 14. So we're already on, I think, pick 3 right now. So check that out on Grind City Media. And then obviously we'll have our coverage of the draft leading up to the draft. And we'll be in New York as well for the draft as well and beyond. So we're looking forward to it, man. Another great show. You know what I mean? We heard from Donovan Clingan.
Yep.
We heard from, we took you to the scene in Boston. Then obviously we're going to take you in and out of this show with Jarvis Grizz. So we got legends all across the
and I tell you, we're going to go down to Mill Branch with Santi here before we get to the next show. The next show will be coming up in a little bit. We're going to talk about the NBA draft. You want to check out Grind City Media for the next time Grizz Beat comes your way. Until then, we'll see you later.
That's game. Thanks for running with us for another episode of Grizz Beat. Join us each Wednesday at Grind City Media for all the latest insight and analysis on the Grizzlies.